I hit Immortal 3 in under 300 hours, and today I'm showing you exactly how you can do it too. It all comes down to two stages: finding the most important skill to improve and improving that skill as fast as possible. I'm going to break down the step-by-step approach I have used, and at the end I'm revealing the secrets to consistency that no one on YouTube is talking about. Stage 1. Finding what skills you need to work on. Regarding finding what skills you need to improve, two key concepts exist for success: opportunity cost and working from first principles. Let's start with the most important one: opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is what you give up when you choose to spend the time on one thing over something else. For example, if you spend 6 hours on Swift play, you pay the opportunity cost of not being able to use those 6 hours for ranked, aim training, or reviewing VODs. Opportunity cost is the difference between you going from Gold 1 to Plat 1 in 1 year versus you going from Gold 1 to Immortal 1 in 1 year. You have gotten better in both scenarios, but at very different speeds. We need to optimize our time to get better and rank up as fast as possible. We can both agree on this fact: the person who plays 1 hour of DM, 4 hours of ranked, and aim trains for 1 hour will get better faster than the person playing 6 hours of Swift play. So, how can you make sure you are optimizing your time? By finding your most significant weaknesses. The skill with the most significant potential for improvement will yield the highest return on investment for your time. When learning a new skill, it's very easy to improve, but as you get better, it becomes harder and harder to improve. After a while, you experience diminishing returns. Your unit of improvement per time slows down. Therefore, it's important to spend as much time as possible working on your biggest weaknesses to gain as much as possible out of your time. But how do we find our biggest weaknesses? There are 3 different approaches you can take. 1. Valorant tracker and VOD reviewing. Go over to your Valorant tracker and find your maps with the worst win rates. Look at your win rate on defense and attack. Look at your agent win rates and headshot percentage. Zekken, Demon 1 and Oxy have a headshot percentage between 30 and 40%, which is something you want to aim for and a good reference. Pick the worst statistic, for example, pick your 3 maps with the worst win rates, then record when you're playing those maps and VOD review. If you want to rank up fast, VOD reviewing is unavoidable. You believe you can get away without VOD reviewing, but you're wrong. Even Kobe Bryant studied his NBA games to get better. What makes you think you can skip it? You can improve without looking back at your games, but it's going to take you 10 times longer, and most likely you won't even become as good after all that time. When you want to improve and get better, you need a feedback loop. For example, when shooting a basketball, you get instant feedback on whether you missed or not. You get visual feedback showing you that you either shot too far or too short. This is how our mechanics get better over time. By practicing and playing, we get feedback on how good our crosshair placement is, flicks, etc. But it's much harder to get the same feedback on our game sense and the decision making. That's where VOD reviews come in. By looking back at your games, you're able to see all the information and take your time to figure out a better way of approaching a scenario. You're soaking in all the feedback to then improve and adjust. In game, oftentimes a lot of things are happening and you're focusing on a lot of different things. Therefore, you miss details. VOD reviewing is the easiest and fastest way to improve game sense, which is crucial to ranking up. By picking out your biggest weak points, you also ensure you gain the most skill per unit of time. Now to the second approach, looking at the bigger picture. There's a good chance you might have bad win rates on almost all maps or on almost all agents. If there seems to be a general bigger picture issue, you need to zoom out and not look at specifics. Instead, you need to turn to your fundamentals. What are the skills that transfer from every game and agent, no matter map? These are fundamentals: crosshair placement, movement, aim, positioning, etc. It could also be: how are you approaching attack and defense? Do you understand your agent's role? To improve fundamentals, you can record any game and VOD review. But instead of looking for map or agent specific mistakes, you look for mistakes and patterns that happen in a lot of your games, or general mistakes. You might wonder how you're going to be able to find these mistakes alone by VOD reviewing. So the question becomes, how do we VOD review? How do you think Tens or Aspas became so good? Or even other athletes such as Michael Jordan or Cristiano Ronaldo? They figured it out for themselves. This is exactly what you need to be doing yourself. Watching YouTube guides is a good first step towards getting better, but you shouldn't rely on guides or other people. You need to be self-sufficient and independent, being able to teach yourself how to get better. Third way of getting better is more advanced, and therefore I recommend it to Diamond and above players. Watching pro VODs. The reason why this is the third method and not the first is because of return on investment. You get a bigger return on investment from working on your weaknesses than building strengths. And trust me, you won't find your weaknesses watching pro VODs. But if you feel stuck and you can't seem to find your weaknesses, watching pro VODs is a great source of inspiration to see how pros solve your problems. If you can't seem to get kills while playing Raze during attack on bind, find a pro that's playing Raze attack on bind. What are they doing that you aren't? What are you doing that they aren't? This way you can find solutions to your weaknesses. Therefore, it's important that you've already reviewed your gameplay and found your weaknesses before watching pro VODs. There must be intention behind why you're looking at a pro VOD. You can't watch a pro playing and try to fix all your mistakes. Someone who's looking for everything is looking for nothing. Now on to the second part of getting better. This is a two-step process and you could be wasting months if you don't get this right. And it's working from first principles. Working from first principles means you eliminate all assumptions and start from zero. Instead of playing an angle you see enemies and pros play and assuming it's good because other good players are doing it, you instead ask the question of, is this a good angle? If so, by working from first principles, you don't assume things and instead learn to understand the game. It's kind of like math. You could either memorize a formula or you could learn to understand it. By understanding it, you're able to apply the knowledge to similar and harder math problems. Same thing goes for Valorant. If you understand what you're doing and why, you can then apply that skill when you rank up and play against harder opponents or to similar problems. On the other hand, if you don't work from first principles, you won't get better. It's actually worse than that because you will be tricking yourself that you've gotten better. It becomes a delusion because you will get better in-game results in some scenarios by, for example, copying pros. But in most cases in Valorant, things are circumstantial, meaning an angle could be good in a specific scenario but bad in all others. And well, if you copy without understanding it, you will be applying that formula to the wrong problems, ending in you actually getting worse. By copying something, you find a solution to 1 out of 10 scenarios maybe. By understanding it, you can apply this knowledge to say 6 out of 10 scenarios instead. Theory is cool and all, but how do we put this into actual practice? You might have found out after reviewing your games that your movement is bad. How do you then get better movement? You don't want to get stuck at only having declarative knowledge. You want to have procedural knowledge, and this is where the second stage comes in.
There are two types of education. There is procedural and there is declarative. So declarative knowledge is knowing about something. Procedural knowledge is knowing how to do something. So a simple example would be, okay, I understand how private equity works, right? Like that you could talk about it. You can explain how, okay, they take some debt and then they have this arbitrage and they get this enterprise value multiple, whatever. But you've never done a deal. And until you've done a deal, you will not have procedural knowledge of knowing how to actually do a deal. And so you can read 100 books on sales, but you will learn more about actually selling from your first 100 sales calls. The idea, in my opinion, for most people is that if you want to rapidly learn, you want to rapidly do those 100 repetitions as fast as you can so that you can suck 100 times in a row and find the 10 that sucked the least and then say, how do I suck least on the next 100? And you keep doing that so many times until eventually you suck so little that you're actually good.
This is the second stage, practicing and improving your weakness. There are two types of skills in Valorant, game sense and mechanics. For example, positioning and crosshair placement. How you improve these skills are somewhat different, but first you need to understand that the improvement process is an iterative process, meaning you can't fix your positioning or fix your crosshair placement. You can only make it better. Making it better doesn't mean that you have fixed it and won't ever need to improve that skill again. It only means that skill is good enough to not be a problem anymore. You work on your biggest weakness until it's not your biggest weakness anymore. Then you move on to your new biggest weakness. It's like you have a stack of skills and by improving it, you move that skill up the stack. And once you've moved enough skills from the bottom, you will arrive at the same skill again. So, how do we practice and improve game sense versus mechanics? Repetition and practice is the key to improving your mechanics. Since we get easy and immediate feedback on our mechanics, it's only a matter of repetition. But you have to be paying attention to the feedback. If you're trying to improve your crosshair placement and decide to get repetitions in through playing DMs, then you need to be paying attention to your crosshair placement during every fight. Was the crosshair at head height? Was it too close to the wall? Was it too far away? By practicing and collecting the feedback, you will get better over time. This is something called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to change and adapt by forming new neural connections in response to learning. This happens during sleep, and if you don't get enough sleep, your rate of improvement will be slower. We're able to maximize neuroplasticity when we're focused, so you won't get as much out of your time if you practice when you're tired. But what if you need to improve a more abstract skill such as game sense and in this example, positioning? It's quite the same. You get feedback, process process it, and analyze the feedback, and then practice again. There's a famous 4-step pyramid that explains how this process goes. Here's my simple version of it. Stage 1, you don't know you're bad at positioning. Stage 2, you realize your positioning is bad. Stage 3, you get feedback and practice positioning. Stage 4, your positioning is now so good you don't even have to think about it, and it's become a habit, it's instinctual, and it's on autopilot. Playing and practicing on autopilot is the biggest enemy of improvement, especially if you are trying to improve game sense skills, because you need to be thinking and processing the information you receive, while focusing and putting mental energy into how you position yourself. But when you're practicing mechanics, it usually requires a bit less mental energy. To make this all make sense, I'm going to show you exactly how I use this. I watch my Valorant tracker or a random VOD to find my biggest weakness. Let's say my biggest weakness is my pacing as a duelist. I then play around 5 to 15 games only focusing on my pacing until it is no longer a problem. If it's necessary, I watch back a VOD to see how my pacing is. Oftentimes it's enough to find the problem in a VOD. When I've found the problem, I can oftentimes figure out myself what I did wrong in the moment. When you want to improve something and get better, you should only focus on one thing at a time. Someone who focuses on everything is focusing on nothing. If you know how to drive a manual car, it's a similar process. You can't jump into a manual car and try to do everything right from the beginning. You first learn to start the car. This means you're only focusing on starting the car, nothing else. Now it's time for me to reveal the secrets of consistency. The truth is, if you want to rank up and improve, consistency is actually a myth. It's something you shouldn't aim for. If you're gold and would like to be consistent, it would mean that you would like to do what you're already doing the same way every time, meaning playing like a gold player. If I was gold, I wouldn't want to be consistent. I would want to get better. Consistency only matters in tournaments, because during tournaments you don't have time to improve, and therefore should strive to play to a high standard for as many games as possible. When getting better, inconsistency is inevitable, and it means you're moving in the right direction. Let's use movement as an example. You find out that movement is the problem. You then think movement will fix all your mistakes. It will then be hard and you'll start to fail a bunch. After some practice, you start to get better. You then start reaching the diminishing returns. Afterwards, you move on to your next biggest weakness and repeat the cycle. If you want consistency, keep doing what you've been doing and you'll get the same results you've been getting. Do the things you haven't been doing to get the results you haven't been getting. If you want more hands-on details and step-by-step tips to how to get better, I've made this video with 5 tips to instantly fix your movement.